portrait?
As the doctor, when he's done with the surgery, he's done. When I know that there's not another stroke that I can put in a painting, then I know I'm done.
Really?
Yes, I think that's what's, like right here, right now what I'm doing, I have a mixture of color of trying to do the skin tone. And this is a bit, right under the nose, this is a shadow area. So I have to, this is the where the light hits, so it should be the lightest. And I also have to have the lightest color that I was talking about, the accent. And we bravely put this, I'm gonna put one here. And if you notice what I'm really focusing on the portraits, my brush work. Where the focal point is, I'm using the larger strokes. And what I do is I do one stroke and I will try to leave it. And we have to do a lot of squinting, which gives us a lot of wrinkles, to really squint and see the value. This is really what's very important. And another thing is you have right on the cheek area where the bone is, it's usually darker right under. The very top is always a little red. And that's what makes them a little, it gives them it turns the cheek around and it makes it three-dimensional. So this is very, very, very important. And also I don't want to overdo, I love the freshness of the portrait. I do one stroke and I leave it. And under the eyes there's always a little bit of blue. And another thing is very important when you decide, when you're painting the portrait, what is the background? The background color will always be revealed in the shadow area, which I'm using a little bit like a light gray blue, which is always perfect. You have a cool shadows and a warm shadow. Like right here I have both. And I would like to maybe put some right under the chin. So that will kind of turn and make it very interesting.
Now, what is more important, that you have live model from the start, as you did when you were taking classes, or is it just as okay to have a portrait, paint a picture first and then start painting?
But I have to say that the past 5 years I'm really spending and studying the portraits, painting from life, and we have live models. I also paint the portraits of the figures. We also go on location and paint the landscapes and seascapes. So it's very important to deal with a live model. I don't even use a drawing pencil. I draw everything with a brush. And we have only 3 hours to paint. So I have a model like sitting and, I paint from life. So that's very important. You train your eyes to see colors that you can never see off the photo. I cannot totally depend on just the colors I have, because camera doesn't show all the colors that they are in nature. So I have to use my knowledge that's why I'm training, and I will probably continue training for the rest of my life. It's so fun. There's so much to learn.
Now, can the models hold their pose for that long at one time?
We have professional models and they hold the pose for 20 minutes. They literally stare in one little dot and they don't move because, you will lose the pose. Then they take a break for 5 minutes and then they pose for another 20 minutes. So it goes on for 3 hours.
Looking at the same spot?
Yes. And so...
Now, is it much different when you start it from a photo and then finish it from a photo really, or do you have to have the live person at any time?
Sometimes it's helpful. I try to do, because I cannot have a lot of people sit for 3 hours. It's just impossible. So I take a photo, I use all the knowledge that I'm continuing to train and try to accomplish. And like I say, get a likeness, to still look artistic. You can see almost each brush stroke here. You can see the shadow. I'm missing on the photo here a cast the shadow that I'm going to invent it a little later. I'm making this very unimportant, but it's supporting. It's like a stage. You have a main star, and then everybody else is just helping around. So this is, you have such a beautiful face, by the way, Myrna, and you remind me a little bit of Elizabeth Taylor. The look that I'm trying to capture, and you as my dear friend, I'd like to put what I see. This is how I see you. So,
well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
The portraits you have here, I know those people, and they look exactly like, the portraits look exactly like your models. Exactly.
Yes. I would like to show a couple of photos that I have here. Some of them are Dr. Salata. She's a local doctor here. Myrna, this is Mrs. Adams, and my auntie who passed on. This is the photos that I took, and some of them are better than others. But I really like to try to work at my own home and at the privacy that I can just study and make a successful portrait. And I still have to do a little more work on you here, just to try the details, the teeth, there's some issues. But it's coming along. This is probably only 4 or 5 hours that I have in this
Is
portrait.
it more challenging to paint a portrait or the roses that you love so much?
Roses are very complicated. You know, we're talking about 36 petals in some roses, and they have a shadow, and it's very hard. They train me a lot for what the work I'm doing right now, but this is like a totally different language. And this is a study itself. I've been studying for the last maybe 3 years, and I will probably continue because I'm studying with different artists, at different workshops, learning from everybody. We share, we have art critique, and that's how you progress, that's how you learn.
Do you have a favorite subject now? Portraits or seascapes or landscapes or flowers?
I'm really enjoying the seascapes. I love the water. I think it is so relaxing. It's just beautiful. My husband and I, we go on the beach a lot, and just capturing that moment, the serenity, the quiet time that we all don't have enough time to enjoy. So I also enjoy the seascapes.
Now, do you take portraits or, I'm sorry, do you take photos of the seascapes before you paint them, or do you paint at the time you're there?
We went on location many times, like La Jolla Cove, and we just bring all this stuff. You have to carry so much with you. All this and paint on location, and it's fabulous. You learn, you get the light that you never get it from photo. But for other times in my studio, I take a lot of photos and I have quite a bit of reference, and then I paint. Because I paint for a gallery, so I have to have enough work to produce.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Yes.
You really have come so far from when you started, I think, and you really have achieved so great. I think it's wonderful. Now, how long does it take the painting to dry, the paints to dry on the painting?
For example, if I'm using some medium, which I do, sometimes I use clove oil so that my paint doesn't dry. It will last probably maybe 2 weeks you need for a painting to dry. If I'm painting just with a straight oil, no medium, probably 7 days, 5 to 7 days. If I don't use very thick impasto, which I do, for the landscape in this, I use sometimes a palette knife. I scoop up a lot of paint and I just do a stroke. And that will take like maybe 2 weeks.
So it takes 2 weeks to dry?
It takes about 2 weeks. Well, you don't want anybody to, it has to be dried properly.
Have you got some favorites you're going to do after this?
Well, you know, I have a lot of portraits of my family. I have a portrait of my husband. I gave it to his mom, and many others that I wanted to paint as friends and family and for the gallery. There's a lot of demand and stuff, but definitely I have a huge file of photos that I'm working on.
Are you still going to do roses and flowers?
Yes, I will always, by the way, I will always paint flowers. I get such a personal joy painting them. I do paint them a lot for the gallery, like with still lifes, different objects, with fruits, with on the table, with a beautiful cloth. And I'm constantly, like, I'm using a lot of silver, maybe a copper, in a crystal glasses, and I mean, it just goes on and on. It's never, I have so much in my head that I wanted to paint that I don't know if I hope I have enough time to do it all.
Now, are people calling you and asking you to paint a particular thing for them?
Yes, some people. I just had a lady not too long ago. By the way, I forgot to mention, I'm also painting animals, and I'm showing them at the gallery. Cats,
Really?
little dogs. I painted a lot of babies. They are so beautiful. Their faces are much more square. So you have to, it's another study. You have to study the baby's face, and I have done a lot of commission for my friends and clients, and also animals. I'm a
Have
huge,
you painted your dog Bailey?
I painted Annette's dog, Muldoon, and he's showing at the gallery. And I have to paint, that's another
Oh, you have
project.
to paint Bailey.
Definitely.
He's a Bichon and he's so beautiful.
He definitely is, and he's just waiting in line for it, so. This is the highlights, Myrna, that I would like to just show to the viewer. It's very important.
Yes.
And I'm trying to wrap it up just a little bit, like this is the topper plane. And we use a huge brush. We have to, another thing, be very concerned about soft edges and sharp edges. And I use the blending brush just a little bit in the edge. So this rolls the cheek.
Was it hard to learn all this, Teresa?
It takes a lot of study. I have a lot of books, the classes that I've been studying with other artists, and you know, just you have to get so much information. But mainly, remember the 4Ds I mentioned? Discipline, to really take the time to learn, to study, and then practice. Practice makes perfect. We have to paint a lot of paintings before you get any good, really.
So you're enjoying all of this,
I
aren't
love
you?
it. I love it. I don't think I have enough time in a day to spend and devote it to my art. It just
Tell us about your studio.
My studio is in
your
my
home.
home. It's it's excuse me for just, I'm going to do a highlight here. It's in my home, and it's it's in a glass. I don't know what you call the.
Well, it's like a patio